So the quarterfinals of the LA Sevens are just about here, and the first matchup that we get to see Samoa taking on Argentina. Two very dangerous sides. Samoa going into this game undefeated. Argentina, they were defeated in their first match, but then have bounced back extremely well, finding themselves now in form for this upcoming quarterfinal match. Key players and also a prediction at the end of who we think will be able to get the victory. First of all, looking through at previous fixtures for Samoa, they started off with a close game up against the USA, able to win that one 26 points to 19. Now, I mentioned on my last preview that I did for Samoa versus New Zealand, the Samoans had a 21-0 lead in that matchup, and it seemed they couldn't quite get the momentum back up until the final moment when they were able to get that last-minute Tuna Tuitama try, which secured that first matchup. Then their next game was up against Chile. They were able to win that one comfortably, 31 points to 5. So they would have been very happy with that performance. Maybe not quite as happy as they were with their next performance. It was their final group stage match of Pool A. They were going head-to-head with a side that knocked them out of the Sydney quarterfinals, and that was New Zealand. In the end, Samoa, they really never allowed New Zealand into that contest. They won it 14 points to 7 on what was a very wet field. It gave me that throwback of what happened in Cape Town, where both sides were playing in extremely damp conditions. And Samoa are becoming New Zealand's bogey team when it's bucketing down. They just seem to be the games that Samoa are able to control. And they did that again, 14 points to 7, and then they moved on undefeated into the quarterfinals. Looking at Argentina, they've had a few close encounters throughout their group stage. They were a part of Pool D. Their group stage didn't quite start the way that they wanted it to. They were defeated by Great Britain, 7 points to 5, a low-scoring encounter. Marcos Mineta, the one-try scorer for Los Pumas in that game, but it wasn't quite enough to get over the line up against GB, and because of that win, Great Britain actually find themselves head-to-head with New Zealand in one of the other quarterfinal matchups, so we will have to wait and see what way that one goes. But the second game for Argentina, also quite a close game, 17 points to 12, getting the win over France. Great Britain winning that game and Argentina winning up against the French meant that France will be one of the sides who miss out on these quarterfinals. And then the last game for Argentina, it was up against Spain. This was the victory with the largest margin, 19 points to 7. But Spain is certainly a side you cannot underestimate, and Argentina knew that. They got the job done, won it by 12, and secured their spot in the LA Sevens quarterfinals. But looking through now at key players for the Samoans, one player has really stood out for me throughout all of the matches of the Sevens competition so far, and that is Paul Scanlon. I originally mentioned on my last preview that it was because of his kicking. It's been very accurate, and it's helped Samoa get a few crucial points on the board in times where it has mattered, but he hasn't just been kicking well, been running the ball well alongside it, actually scoring himself a couple tries already. Maybe this game could be the one that he gets his third. The next player for the Samoans to watch out for me, is Fa'afoi Falaniko. He's been consistently strong throughout the first 3 matchups, and he just seems to be linking up very well with the rest of that Samoan side. And to beat Los Pumas, you've got to be on the same page. We've seen sides in the past not quite knowing what their tactic will be going into a contest up against Argentina. Samoa at the moment with Fa'afoi Falaniko, I think should have a very good crack of walking away victorious. And then the last player, I'm going to go Milani Matavao. He's only recently come back from injury, which does mean he won't get a huge amount of time out on the field, perhaps only a couple minutes near the end of the game. But he is also a player who has been goal kicking very well, and maybe can have that one nice pass or one good run near the end of the game. If it is close, that could seal the deal. But now looking through at Argentina straight away, I mentioned him earlier on, Marcos Mineta, always scoring tries for Argentina. His explosive pace on attack is lethal. It's also very handy when the opposition make a line break, and sometimes successful, sometimes not. In Sevens, it's normally all about that foot race at the end, and Marcos Mineta, he's got pace to be able to win it when he's on attack, and sometimes has got the pace to be able to win it when he is defending. So he's the first name for Los Pumas. Second name, it is going to be Rodrigo Isgro. He scored a couple tries in the LA Sevens already, and this is a competition for Argentina. In a couple of their games, as you saw by the score lines, it hasn't been that easy to get over the line. So the fact that he has been able to cross it twice means he is in some pretty decent form, and also he's got that little bit of extra size, which I think will muscle up well up against the Samoans, as we do know they've got some pretty solid boys in their starting lineup and reserves. And the last Argentinian name that we will be going with is Luciano Gonzalez. This man, I always describe him as a ball of muscle. He's an absolute tank out on the field, trying to bust through tackles, something he finds himself doing on the daily. And if he can get it right, maybe find an offload along the way, Argentina could find themselves some real success in this matchup. But now we're up to that stage of trying to predict who is going to win. You've heard me say already that both of these sides could win it. Said from their key players that both teams could find success, but only one can, and only one can advance to the semi-final. And if I had to put out a score prediction, I'm going to say that Samoa are victorious in this game, 19 points to 14. Only a 5-point difference. And the reason why I'm picking Samoa, they've had a couple more occasions where they've been able to score more points on the board. I feel like that's the big thing that's swaying me in the Samoans direction compared to Argentina. And yes, in every game Argentina have played, they've actually got more points. Started with 5, ended up with 17 in their next game, and then the last game managed to get up to 19. So perhaps they could find themselves scoring in the 20s for this matchup. But if Samoa use their momentum wisely after just beating New Zealand, they'll be on cloud 9. They'll be ready for another possibly quite wet game. If the weather in LA is like it was yesterday, and Samoa, I think they'll just be able to sneak it and seal themselves that semi-final spot. Nonetheless, the game will be happening in not too long at all, 7:23 a.m. New Zealand time. That is, of course, if there's no other lightning strikes or anything like they had yesterday. They did delay play for a little bit, but it should be happening 7:23. We will be doing the live commentary on the channel, so be sure to check that out as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.